Okay, so blocks and holes. Now we're not going to do holes, we're just going to do blocks. Let us create something else that will enable us to make more complicated puzzles. We create blocks that can be pushed by the player. Also, we make holes that the player cannot cross. We're not doing that. This allows for many possibilities. So maybe we do holes. They're kind of easy, so maybe we'll do them. Blocks have to be pushed in a particular way to create passages, and you can catch monsters using blocks. So that's the nice thing about them. A block is a solid object. The main problem is that it has to follow the movement of the person when it is pushed. When it collides with the person, we take the following actions. We test the relative position. So we say 8 times other dot h speed. H speed is our horizontal speed. So if it's positive 4, then it's moving to the right. If it's negative 4, it's moving to the left. And if it's 0, it's not moving horizontally or vertically. It's just sitting there. This is the position the block would be if it was pushed to. If it is empty, then we move the block there. We do the same thing when there's a whole object in that position. To avoid monsters running over blocks, we make the corner wall the parent of the block. So we're going to make just the wall object the parent. This, though, introduces a slight problem. Because a collision event is defined between a person and a wall, and not between a person and the block, the event is executed, stopping the person. This is not what we want. To solve this, we put a dummy action, just a comment, in the collision event of the person with the block. Now this event is executed instead, which does not stop the person. Okay, so we're overriding the typical collision event between the wall and the person. To be precise, the new collision event overrides the collision event of the parent. As indicated before, you can use this to give child objects slightly different behavior than their parents. The hole is a solid object. When it collides with a block, it destroys itself and the block. We also make the wall its parent and let it behave like a wall. With the blocks and holes, you can create many intriguing rooms. There is a little problem. You can easily lock yourself up such that the room can no longer be solved. So we need to give the player the possibility to restart the level at the cost of 1 life. To this end, we use the R key for restart. We're going to find a different key because we're using the R key for restart the game. In this keyboard event, for the controller, we simply subtract 1 from the lives and restart the room. This finishes our 3rd version of the maze game. Okay, so we're finally making some progress, getting close to the end. Again, the process is always the same. You go here, create the sprite. The first one, we'll just call it sprite block because it blocks the way of a person. And here, we're going to use the boulder. There it is, boulder. So that's going to be our block. And again, shut off precise collision checking. Okay? And then we're going to need a hole. I wasn't expecting to do holes, so we're going to have to find a... Okay, this will be the hole. So we're going to fill the hole in with the block. Yeah, so we're going to use that. We might edit a sprite or come up with one of our own. Getting some feedback. Okay, so there's our hole. And then we'll do the thing we always do. Okay, then we need to create objects. So we say create object. And again, our blocks are going to be solid because we want them to behave like walls. And then we have to make a whole object too. And those two should be made solid. We do want our hole to be, the parent to be the wall, because we don't want the player to be able to walk over the hole. All right, so the hole, the only thing we have to do in there is the collision event between the block and the hole. And what that does is, if the boulder collides with the hole, we want both things to be destroyed. So let's try that. So we had a collision event between the hole and the block. Okay, so we're on the hole, collision event with the block. And what we want to do is just destroy both of them. So destroy self, which is the hole, and then destroy other, which is the block. So that's pretty easy. For the actual block, we want to add a collision event with the person. Okay. And if we look in our tutorial, it says we test the relative position a times other.h speed, h times other.v speed is empty. Okay, so what that means then is we use on the control tab, check empty. We haven't used that one before, so that's kind of new. And what we say here is we say other.h speed, and we want to put in 8 times just to make it match. Okay, so 8 times other.h speed. Make sure you spell it correctly, because if you don't, the game will blow up right here. H speed again represents, it's a predefined variable, and it represents the horizontal speed. In this game, it can either be 4 or -4 or 0 if it's moving vertically. Here we say 8 times other.v speed. V speed is the vertical speed. And here I think we want to say only solid. Anything that's not solid will get covered up by the boulder. Do we say relative? No. Do we say not to invert the statement? And that's no as well. So we just leave it like that. So then, looking back at the tutorial. Okay, so a couple of things. We want the block to be solid. We also want the parent of the block to be a wall. So, and if anything hits a wall, it's going to turn around. And it's not just the person object, but the monsters. When they hit walls, they should turn around. Same thing is true with blocks. So if this is true, there's nothing there, then we can actually move there. So I'm going to use jump to position. The tutorial is kind of vague on this point. So here again we say other dot, 8 times other dot h speed, 8 times other dot v speed, and I don't think it's relative, but is it relative? Okay, I'm going to say relative because I'm not sure. Yeah, let's see what happens. It's been a while since I've done this, so I forget sometimes. And the reason I can't push it, or one of the reasons may be that I need to override one of the events. Remember, a block or a hole, a block is actually a child of wall. So since it's a wall, it behaves like a wall. In the collision event with the person, it's not going to let it move the rock. So somehow we need to shut off that collision event. So the way the book or the tutorial suggests is adding a kind of a bogus event. So on this side, put a collision event with the block. And in this case, we want to ignore, even though a block is a wall, we don't want it to behave like a wall, at least in this case. So to do this, we just put a collision event with the block, but then we tell it to ignore it. So that will override the normal behavior between the person and the wall, and just don't do anything. So this may seem kind of silly, but I always like to put a little comment there, just saying what you want to do or why you're doing this. That's right here. Now, a comment is something that isn't really a command to the program. It's really just a comment to the person trying to fix this or trying to create it. So it's for the programmer. And I just say overriding collision with parent wall. Okay, so I know that there's a reason I'm not doing anything here, even though it looks like I'm not doing anything. I'm actually overriding it so that it allows the player to be able to push the stone. So again, inside the person object, we're adding a collision event to the block, and all we're saying is we don't want to do anything because we want to override the collision event with the wall, and this will allow the rocks to actually move. So let's try that and see. Okay, so here's my first little test, see if this works. No, doesn't work. Oh, so close. This level's kind of hard for me. Okay, so I'm trying to see if I can push the rock in any direction. Nope. Oh, I could do that one. Did you see that? Up was working. Left is working. Why is that? Yeah, I push into the wall. I must not be looking in the right place then. Okay, so just troubleshooting. Let me see if I can sort this out. Oh, here I said relative. Yeah, maybe I should have done relative up here. Okay, so let me try that. Okay, one more time. Yeah, it looks like it's working. Woohoo! So both of them need to be set to relative. Okay, let's see if the boulder disappears with the hole. It doesn't. Okay, so the way you have to set this up, we got a few issues. On the block, you have to make sure the block is solid and that the parent for the block is the wall object. When it collides with the person, we check to see if the direction of the person is pushing the rock is clear. And make sure to say relative there. And then when it says jump to position, you're moving the block 8 pixels at a time. So it kind of jumps ahead each time you push it. And also make sure that's relative. Okay, so that has to be set that way. In the hole, basically when the hole collides with the rock, you want to destroy both the hole and the rock. Okay. And make sure that the hole isn't solid. And make sure that the parent is set to wall. Okay, so back here, we're able to okay, so if I try to push a boulder into another boulder, doesn't work. We'll check both sides. We can push boulders around. I want to make sure our boulders don't go into the wall. Make sure our skeleton bounces off the boulder. Notice how our spider is kind of stuck in the hole, and then I'm out of alignment. So I have some things to work on, but I'll sort that out later.